Clayton County District Attorney has issued a big apology. One of her prosecutors used AI for a court filing at the Georgia Supreme Court.
The AI cited cases that simply don't exist. The Chief Justice called that prosecutor out in the middle of court.
So we have a prosecutor, not a defense attorney, not a random paralegal, a state prosecutor in Clayton County, Georgia, got caught filing fake case law. And not in some rinky-dink local courtroom either. At the Georgia Supreme Court, the highest court in the state. She cited cases that literally did not exist. Made up. AI hallucinations. In a murder case. You cannot make this up. And when the Chief Justice called her out live on camera in front of everybody, she lied right to his face. Tried to blame the trial court judge, all while being recorded.
A humiliating revelation for this prosecutor with the Clayton County District Attorney's Office. In a letter to Chief Justice Nels Peterson, DA Tasha Mosley says Prosecutor Deborah Leslie used AI to write briefings, which made up case citations.
Those non-existent cases were cited in your initial brief opposing the motion for new trial.
And this person is sitting in prison because of this prosecutor's brief. She's doing life over citations to cases that are not real. Let's get into it. And real quick, if you're new here, this is what we do. We talk about government fraud, corruption, financial misconduct, all the nonsense, all the shadiness. And it looks like about 80% of you guys are watching or not subscribed. It's free. It takes a second and it helps us keep going on this channel. Hit that subscribe button. Now let's get back into it. So to understand why this is just so ridiculous and crazy, you have to understand the actual case. And this one's a bit messy. So stick with me while I explain this. This is May 2019, Clayton County, Georgia. That's the south of Atlanta. A 62-year-old man named Kenneth Herring is driving a pickup truck. He blows through a red light and slams into a semi-trailer. Hard. Like hard enough to tilt the truck. So it was not a fender bender. This was a real collision. After the crash, Kenneth gets back into his car, which is now leaking oil, hissing, and visibly messed up, and he drives off. He just leaves. An off-duty officer on the scenes noticed Keith looking impaired. His behavior is erratic. He's mumbling to himself, pacing around. The officer tells him to not get back in the car, but he gets back in the car anyway and then floors it into traffic. Now, this is where Hannah Payne enters the picture. She witnesses the accident. She wasn't involved in it. She called 911, waited for about 20 minutes. When Kenneth takes off, the officer asks her to get his license plate number. And she does more than that. She gets into her Jeep and follows him. She pulls her car in front of his to block him. Gets out, approaches his vehicle while she is still on the phone with 911, and this is where everything goes completely sideways. Two very different stories about what happened next. Prosecution says that Payne was a vigilante. She had no business chasing this man. She created a dangerous situation, pulled her gun, and shot an unarmed man while he was having some kind of medical episode, possibly a diabetic incident. Defense says something very different. He grabbed her by the neck and said this was all basically self-defense. He slaps the phone out of her hand, started struggling with her. Physical evidence showed that she had a black eye, scratches on her neck, torn shirt. His car was apparently full of needles and baggies. The state said it was insulin, but they never tested. During the struggle, she pulls a concealed carry weapon. They fought over the gun. It discharged and Kenneth Herring died. December 2023, Hannah Payne gets convicted. Malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, weapons charges, sentenced to life in prison with a possibility of parole after 43 years. She's 25. She'll be pushing 70 before she's even eligible to get out. Now, here's the thing that most people don't realize about this case. Payne's trial attorney, a guy by the name of Matt Tucker, made what her appeal lawyers are saying two fatal mistakes. He never asked the judge to instruct the jury on citizen's arrest, and he never asked for a jury's instructions on the defense of others. Why does that matter? Because, and this is very important, Georgia's citizen's arrest law was still on the books in 2019. It didn't get repealed until 2021 after the Ahmaud Marbury case. I'm sure you guys know about that case. Under that law, you can use reasonable force to stop an impaired motorist from driving recklessly and putting other people's lives at risk. That would have been potentially justified what the prosecution was calling false imprisonment, the blocking of his car, the confrontation, all of it. And defense of others, that would have covered Payne trying to stop a clearly impaired driver from getting back on the road and potentially killing somebody. Even if every single juror believed her story, believed that Herring attacked her, believing that she was defending herself, the instructions they were given did not give them a non-guilty option under those theories. The only self-defense framework they had basically required her to not have been there in the first place. Her appellate attorney, Andrew Fleischman, and side note, one of her other attorneys is actually Brian Steele, the same lawyer who who represented Young Thug and Diddy. So this is very interesting. Fishman told the Supreme Court this.
The defense that he chose is basically inapplicable in the same way that in Swanson a felon couldn't claim self-defense. And he only was stuck with this avenue. That's not a very sound strategy, because he did not know that he could raise defense of others.
So this case goes up on appeal. Ineffective assistance of counsel. It makes its way all the way to the Georgia Supreme Court. Both sides file their briefs. Both sides stand up and make their arguments. And then this is where things get completely wild. March 18th, 2026, Georgia Supreme Court, the state attorney, a prosecutor by the name of Deborah Leslie from the Clayton County's DA office. She finishes her argument. She's wrapping up. She's about to sit down. And Chief Justice Nels Peterson hits her with the Columbo, one more thing before you go.
You know, there's only one thing that I'm not clear about.
Who remember Columbo? Let me know in the comments if you remember Columbo. I don't know, that reference may be a little bit too old for you guys, but I think many of you guys are around my age, so you guys get it. But anyway, listen to what he says.
So before you sit down,
Yes,
there's
sir.
one more thing I need to ask you about, unfortunately. In reviewing the trial court's order denying the motion for new trial, there are at least 5 citations to cases that don't exist. And there's at least 5 more citations to cases that do not support the proposition for which they're cited, including 3 quotations that don't exist.
5 fake cases. 5 more that don't actually say what she claimed they say. 3 quotations that were completely fabricated in a murder trial at the state's highest court. Let's just think about that for a second. I mean, someone's life is on the line here. I mean, someone's life was lost, and then it gets worse because Peterson asked her directly, were those citations in the version of the order you submitted to the trial court? Yes or no? Simple question. And she says this.
No, Your Honor, I do not believe so. They were not. I did prepare an order. That order was revised.
So those non-existent cases were cited in your initial brief opposing the motion for new trial.
Your Honor, I'm not aware.
So she did. She blames the trial court judge. She's implying that the judge somehow added the fake cases to the order. That's what the order was revised means. She's passing the buck in real time. It's in your brief, ma'am, the thing you wrote with your name on it.
But I would be glad to research that and provide the court with a supplement.
She wants to research it using what? ChatGPT again? I mean, come on. And then you look at her own boss, DA Tasha Mosley, later came out and said that the claim about the order being revised was not true. Mosley contradicted her own prosecutor publicly. Now you have fake case law, dishonesty to the Supreme Court about where it came from, and your own boss calling you out. 3 really terrible separate problems. 2 days later, the Supreme Court drops an order. They give Leslie 10 days to file a sworn affidavit explaining everything. And let's explain why they're doing this. When a court tells a lawyer to file a sworn affidavit, that's basically telling them that we don't trust you. Lawyers are officers of the court. They're supposed to be considered under oath at all times. So when a court says, nah, you better put this on writing and swear to it, that is a complete insult to your credibility. That's the court telling you they think you might be lying. She files her response March 31st. In the affidavit, she admits she used, and this is her exact wording, traditional and AI research tools. She says that the AI generated citations were not independently verified before inclusion. She says it wasn't intentional. Fine. But this is where I start really just finding this whole thing hilarious. In that same affidavit, she talks about how she's going to prevent this in the future by making sure AI citations get verified before she uses them.
This is her personal affidavit that she is signing under oath. However, in retrospect, I acknowledge that this process relied on traditional and AI research tools. We flip all the way over to page 7, where she's now talking about how she's going to prevent this from happening in the future. And she says one of the things she's going to do is a firm requirement that every case citation, particularly those initially identified through technological or AI-based tools, be independently verified in a recognized primary legal database before being included in any draft.
Hold on. She just told the Supreme Court that she's going to keep using the AI after this? Read the room. Meanwhile, her boss Mosley is out here telling the news,
Mosley told the court the prosecutor violated her office's ethical standards by relying on artificial intelligence.
So which is it? Leslie promising to use AI more carefully, or Mosley saying that AI was against policy the whole time? They can't even get their own story straight. And it gets better. Mosley contacted the trial judge to apologize without looping in Payne's attorney Fleshman. That's called an ex parte communication, and you're not supposed to do it. When Fleshman asked about it, Mosley sent him an email. Mr. Fleshman, an apology is not substantive. I apologize and I did not talk about the facts or anything of the case at all. Sorry that this matter has caused you any discomfort. Your office cited fake law to keep his client in prison for the rest of her life and you're sorry about his discomfort? That's kind of ridiculous. Fleshman responds on Twitter, there is some tension in admitting that you lied to opposing counsel, the trial court, the appeals court to preserve a conviction, and also that you should get away with it. But let's talk about this in a bigger picture for a second, because I think a lot of us use AI. I use AI. So I'm definitely not anti-AI, but this is what I teach my son. He's 12 years old. I say that it's just a tool. It's a very useful tool. You can use it for research, organizing information, brainstorming, all types of cool stuff. But this is the part where most people are skipping, especially Generation Z and A, and how a lot of people are just getting dumber and dumber. You need to check what AI gives you every single time, because AI is wrong. Weirdly often, actually. Way more often than you expect. It'll get dates wrong, it'll get times wrong. It will make up sources that don't exist. And the thing is, it presents it to you in perfectly formatted, completely confident, looking totally legitimate, but it's fiction. They're just making stuff up. And every single one of these chat tools have a little message at the bottom of the screen. May produce inaccurate information, check your sources. It's literally warning you, and people just skip right past it. People are using AI to write legal briefs and craft entire arguments without even putting in any effort to verify what came out. This is AI slop on the human level. It's laziness with extra steps. You're not doing less work. You're doing the wrong work and skipping the part that actually matters, getting things correct. And ChatGPT especially, it's a people pleaser. That's how it was built. You keep asking it questions, it's going to try to keep you happy. It will find ways to support whatever weird argument that you're pushing. You want case law that will back your position? It will give you the case law. Doesn't matter if those cases were real. It wants to be your friend. It wants to be helpful. And that is extremely dangerous if you're not checking what's behind it. Being a lawyer is literally one of the professions where checking your sources is the entire job. It's what you do. You research case law. You verify if it's real. You make sure it says what you think it says. And if you can't do that, if you're too lazy to look up whatever cases in your own brief actually exist, the crazy dangerous thing about all this is not a one-off situation. Just go on YouTube. Lawyers are continuing to get caught doing this. There's a famous case in New York where attorneys cited 6 fake cases in federal court. But this one is actually worse because it's a prosecutor. It's the part of the state using fake fan fiction AI law to keep someone locked up for life. That's not just lazy. That's reckless. What also needs to be mentioned is that these AI models are constantly being changed. They're constantly being altered, adjusted. The guardrails are shifting. What answer they gave you last month may be something completely different today. You do not want to rely on them as your primary source of information. Don't allow AI to replace your brain. That's probably the one thing I'm always yelling at my son about. Don't let it happen. You need to verify what AI is telling you. As for law, we still need human beings who actually understand the law. There's no shortcut around that. So here's where we're at. The Georgia Supreme Court is deliberating on the actual appeal right now. A ruling on whether Hannah Payne will get a new trial is expected to happen by mid-July, maybe sooner. And if she does, I would love to cover it because I think it's a very fascinating case. But the big question is whether those fake citations were just partially on the plate, it was decorative, irrelevant, or whether the trial court actually relied on them when they denied Payne a new trial in the first place. If they relied on that fake case law, this whole thing could unravel. As for Deborah Leslie, Mosley said that she's going to be disciplined, won't say how. She faces possible state bar, grievance, suspension, loss of privileges, but no proceedings on her losing her license. Not yet anyway. Look, whether you believe Hannah Payne was guilty or innocent, what happened here shouldn't bother everybody. Prosecutors should not be submitting AI-generated fiction to the highest court in the state. It shouldn't happen. That's why she got caught, tried to blame the judge. Her office is contradicting themselves on whether AI is even allowed in the first place. And the woman whose freedom depends on this case is sitting in cell doing life. But let me know in the comments below, do you agree with the finding in the first place? Do you believe that Hannah Payne was guilty of murder? Or you believe that she's not guilty due to self-defense? Or do you think it's somewhere in the middle? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for taking time to watch the video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.